Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera. And, it's been about a week since the last one. Well, actually no, it's been more than that, it's been slightly more, closer to 2 weeks, because I took a break last week to not work for a week, because I hadn't taken a day off in years. I'm actually genuinely not even sure when I last had a Sunday off, so yeah, that was a bit overdue. But that does not mean that I have sat idle. I more or less said I wasn't going to do any streaming or more or less anything on camera, but if my energy levels and my brain, because my brain likes to pick what I get to do more than I do, decided that I would do coding, I would do coding, that kind of thing. So I do have a few things to show off. If you're in the Discord, in the Modding in Bedmon channel, you will probably have already seen most of what I've been working on the past week, but nonetheless, let's go and have a look, shall we? So, there have been a couple of bug fixes. There was a problem with not the dark vision ability itself, but actually every status effect ability had this bug, because previously, let's see, time sets, midnight. If you had, let's see, add dark vision right there. If you had dark vision, then the horizon light would constantly flicker. I think Kieran Dave measured it at being about 15 hertz, which apparently is actually in the seizure range. So if you're epileptic, that was very, very bad. So that was caused because the effects that you were being given by the status effect abilities, dark vision, visibility, that kind of thing, were all set to 15 seconds in duration. So that if you lost the ability for any reason, you'd have about 15 seconds of latency, and then you'd lose the ability entirely. But because it was in there, and because there was a fraction of time, literal fraction of time, between when the ability was ticked down, well, when the ability activated and when the status effects were ticked down in your character, there was a brief moment where your night vision from dark vision would be below 15 seconds, and 15 seconds happens to be the point where dark vision starts to oscillate to tell you it's about to wear off, which resulted in that flickering, because then the ability would trigger again and go oh yes, you need to give you that again, so it sticks 15 seconds. To fix that, you no longer actually get given the status effects. They are not in your active effects map whatsoever anymore. And that is done via a couple pieces of mixin. So one of the crucial elements for this story, of course, is the isPotionActive function inside of your entity, which basically just says, is this effect inside of your active potion effects map? The thing that keeps ticking down. We now hack into that using mixin, run a loop through all of your abilities, and check if there is a status effect ability that gives you the queried status effect. In this case, night vision. Then when it asks for it again, we similarly go for the status effect map, find if we have one, and return that. And that means that the ability effect is never actually in your character, so it cannot ever tick down because it's not on the active potions effect map. It also means it doesn't show up here, it doesn't generate particles or anything. It's just sort of invisible, but it's there. It's a little weird. I'm not 100% certain on if that's a good thing, but it's handy nonetheless. There's a couple of side effects to that, beyond just that. The other side effect is that previously, if you had the explode ability, and say the invisibility ability as well, that gave you constant invisibility, if you detonated, you would leave behind a potion cloud of invisibility. Similarly, if you had dark vision, you would leave behind a potion cloud of dark vision. And that was unintended, and was not meant to be the case. So I'm glad that we no longer have that, because since it's no longer in your map, you can't leave a cloud of it. But isPotionActive had a bug in it where essentially you would read as having abilities, but when we went to retrieve them, they would be null. So that started causing people random client crashes. No one was having an epileptic fit anymore, but they weren't actually, able to play either. So it took me a bit to try and figure that out. I still don't know how to fix that fully, so it's just surrounded in a try-catch, which is not the best of solutions, because it doesn't actually fix the solution, it just silences it, shuts it up. But intended behavior is functionally there, so that's good. That's one of the larger things that's changed. Oh yes, also means that your status effect goes away immediately when you lose the ability, which is really nice. Personally, I like that. Okay, back to new. There was also an update to the size ability, which, let's see, species, select. So a bunch of things have the size ability, which changes how tall they are. Dwarves, it's fairly small. Gnomes are smaller than that. The smallest, I think, currently available is halfling. Now, there is one thing I do need to note, which is that I'm rendering the right size, but my bounding box, or at least my eye height on the client side, hasn't figured out that I'm this size, so I'm not currently... my eye height doesn't match until I shift. There we go. Just bear that in mind. If you have that trouble, just shift. It does the trick. As long as you sneak, it'll fix it up. There is still the problem with the bounding box being reduced further when it's rendered like this. I haven't figured out a way around that just yet, so it's what we've got. But previously, there was a problem whereby if you were underneath, let's say a half slab. Slabs are like more obvious something wrongy kind of situation. So here we can see my rendered model. That's the main thing to look at here. Bounding box is off, please. Thank you very much. If I went under here, then I would immediately crouch. The reason being that formerly, and this is Minecraft being awful again, the bounding box that you see that is rendered on me is not the bounding box that blocks use to determine collision. Essentially, you have one bounding box that determines where you can walk, and the other bounding box determines, like, if blocks are intersecting with you. Really irritating! So, consequently, I had to add more mix in to actually make that second bounding box, like, understand exactly how tall you are, so that you could walk under here without going into sneak mode or anything, which you now absolutely can. And am I sure not to? Not quite. So now, if you are smaller than a block, you can run through a block, no problem, which is pretty nice, I think. Kind of an integral thing to being a halfling. You can now actually exist perfectly fine, sprinting and everything, in 1.5 block tall spaces. Pretty sweet. So yeah, we got that fixed. We fixed up the potion effects issue. As per usual, vanilla Minecraft code is kind of jank. Yeah, also, the code for determining your hitbox for collisions of blocks is updated live. So I can change that every single tick, no problem. But I can't do the same thing with your bounding box as an entity, because then we just get what I keep dubbing the melting wicked witch effect, where you just steadily shrink. I think somebody was trying to pay me a compliment, and I mentioned I mentioned this past week I melted dwarves because dwarves had that particular effect. Everything that was like not player sized, I guess, had that effect, but to different degrees. If you were a halfling, you shrunk down really quickly. But dwarves had this nice thing of sort of like progressive time. It was beautiful to watch, but unintended. Oh yes, the species select command, if you can, only can now be given an actual like target optionally, but if you just want to open up for yourself, /species select does the job. And then there's the main, well, not the main thing I've been working on, but something I have been working on, which is that for some circumstances, for some circumstances, you need a corpse. You know, every now and then, you need a corpse. So, there are corpses inside of various oddities 1.12. But they were a constant kind of foreign, like matter of contention, because if I just had it that everything that died dropped a corpse, then steadily but slowly but very surely, the entity count in your world goes up to the point where the memory is exceeded and your world basically just dies. If I made it everything that a player killed, mob farms become virtually unusable. But sometimes you need a corpse. For like the main like major example is for things like necromancy. A lot of necromantic effects require a body, so you can actually create things that aren't just zombies or skeletons. If you want to create a zombie kobold, for instance, you need a kobold body, because otherwise I have to just sort of like look at various items that are around and infer that there is a kobold. So sometimes you just need a body. So the solution to that now is that there is a brand new potion effect. So let's see, effect, give dev, and it is called a needle. Doesn't have a texture just yet, but there it is. And what this means is that when you die, you will drop a corpse. There's a config option as well to make players always drop corpses, but player corpses despawn as soon as they detect that their associated player is alive. So you don't end up with a body of yourself hanging around, which could be a little weird, suffice to say. There's not a lot of function to corpses just yet. There's nothing that currently gives the needled status effect, but what you can do is, first, you'll notice that this cow has a particular kind of arrangement of its limbs. Let's grab another one. And this one has a different. So they have semi-random kind of like poses, I guess would be the phrase, which allows you to distinguish two from one another. If you use a spawn egg on them, you can actually change what they are. So there's a little bit of jittering that I had to figure out. I'm not 100% certain where that's coming from, but you can make different kinds of body, should you wish. A few are more wonky than others. The main example of that being spiders, because this does use the actual renderers of the entities, so if they have special like layers of them, they're fine. Spiders are basically invisible. And the reason for this is, once again, vanilla Minecraft code. You almost never actually see this, but spiders, when they die, they turn the full 180 degrees. And because that rotation is based on the bottom of the mob, which is to say floor level, a spider at the very cusp of completely disappearing from being dead is actually under the ground quite frequently. So you pretty much never see spiders like this. If I go into F3 mode, you can see them like that. They're meant to be like slightly above the ground, but Minecraft vanilla code doesn't account for that. So yeah, there's also no accessible value for me to detect if mobs do that, so I can't actually just lift them up or some such. Also the shadow becomes a problem at that point. But yeah, we have customizable like corpses right now. I'm probably going like I could probably do this for players, maybe not for everything, but I could make it so that players, if the corpse is rendering a player, which it can detect, then I can just load up the appropriate like biped model, pose it a bit more elaborately, and then apply the texture. That would leave out things like baubles, that would leave out things like special render layers that have been added, that kind of thing, but you would get a like actual flailed body as well. I don't really necessarily want to implement full-blown ragdolls, but it is pretty handy to be able to have posable bodies, pretty much. Maybe I could even modify it so that you can actually like use these as sort of like armor stands or statues, which is another thing I need to do. The effect for petrification still allows idle animation, which is something I want to change, but yeah. And the idea is that these will have actual like loot tables, and if they have been around for too long, if they've just like spawned, they'll drop like bones, rotten flesh, that kind of thing, more rotten flesh than bones. And if they've been around for an age, then they will just drop purely bones, like they've been skeletonized essentially. They'll probably have a little bit of an inventory, but for the most part, that's the corpse system, and and that is only part of what I've been up to this past week. So, if you didn't know, which I'd be surprised, Various Oddities is a core mod, which is to say that it is a mod upon which other mods are built. This one is Various Equipment. If you didn't know about Various Equipment, it's supposed to add stuff that makes surviving with the oddities more varied, more diverse, and easier in a lot of cases, because oddities can be quite powerful. But I asked my community for various cosmetics they would like, and they were feral. So currently Various Equipment is like 90% wardrobe. it's like 90% costume department, and it has served its purpose very well in that regard. Let's see, any items. But there's a lot of cosmetics. It's, oh boy, so many cosmetics. Here's all the things that aren't cosmetics. Here's all the things that are. So just, what did so many ears and tails? Oh yes. Oh yes. So, in the past week, I've added a few more things. I don't recall 100% certain if I've shut it off or I might have programmed that on stream, but we do also have costumes, meaning that you can actually take a number of cosmetics and tie them together with some string if you wish to make something particularly weird fit into one bauble slot. I keep saying bauble, they're curios, but still, that's a thing you can do. Makes swapping in and out of costumes much easier, I have to say. But I made a few more, so let's show those off. Let's start with the simple ones. In fact, let me grab a brown mushroom. There we go. Okay. So first one to show off is that we have villager noses now. Just, yep. Costumes don't have broken texture anymore? No, because I had to publish this code at some point recently. So just, hang on, I have a button for exactly this. And if I craft the villager nose together with a brown mushroom, we get the witch nose, which texture-wise is nearly identical. Nearly. There is one darker dot on it. And that adds the little mole. It also makes it animate. So there's that. As before, all of these are also dyeable, so for instance, I could make it green should I desire. There we go. If you wanted to get the full-on grunty experience. So that is one of the things I've made this past week. The implication that witches have prehensile noses. Yeah, they're just sort of maybe they're just really sniffly. They live in the swamp. Maybe they just have really bad allergies or something. Who knows? Okay, so I made this. Pretty straightforward. Kind of terrifying that it removes Steve's pupils, but you know, there's that. It's a pig snoot. What are you gonna do? And then I naturally had to make this the piglin snout, which is arguably much worse. You can also, if you just add a single bone to the pig snout, you'll get the piglin snout. Much safer way of getting that, but yeah. And then just to complete the sets, we have piglin ears as well. And these are kind of silly if you don't have the piglin nose or anything, but also they're animated. just to really make that look absurd. But they are animated in the exact same way that this fella's is. There we go. Practically cousins. Look at that. It is actually kind of weird how well the piglin snout blends into Steve's texture. There is some distinction, but it does fit quite well. Floopy ears dye to match the doggo tail. Yep, all of these can be dyed. In fact, The piglin's snout is actually a somewhat significant step, because it is the first, like, nose that has a different render layer. So you can see there, the tusks are still the kind of like yellowish. They're the first. These are the first like head cosmetic we've got that does that. I had to write a whole subclass for that. I say that, I mostly just borrowed from all the stuff I already had, so bleh, wasn't a huge problem. What does this look like, perchance? Absurd is what it looks like. Okay. I guess we have identified a slight problem with the screens. In production versions, which is to say versions that you can download on Cursor right now, for whatever reason, they don't behave like they do in the dev space. And I have no idea why that would be, but whereas here they have no concept of light whatsoever, they're just always the exact same light, in downloadable versions, they still have some kind of shadow on them. It's very weird, it doesn't make any sense. They're still pretty good for their function, but there's evidently that kind of bug. So, be advised, I guess. The last thing, one of the more recent things that I've done, and for this we have to go to actually the code, is that firstly there's a bunch of like things that these are injected to, but now you can get a whole ton of these cosmetics from the animals you would expect to get them from. So you can get the pig nose from pigs, you can get the witch nose from witches, you can get the fox tails from foxes, and you can get the ram horns and such from sheep. Let's see, is it the provider? Yes. So if we look right here, we can see all of the things that aren't immediately craftable anyways are inside the cosmetics loot table for chests and such, but down here we have all of the things that you can get from different entities. If you can even fight villagers to get villager noses that are their skin tone. Just as a note. There's a bunch of stuff. And I will be injecting into like oddity loot tables as well, but until a couple of days ago they didn't have any. So that's why this is commented out. And what that basically means that if you kill a thing yourself, there is a 5% chance that you'll get one of their cosmetics. Yes, this includes the Ender Dragon. So kill the Ender Dragon 20 times and you might get a dragon tail. As a thought. Today we are going to start off, probably, by making a couple of ears, because I know people want to see ears. And then we're going to try and branch various equipment out a little bit further than its heavily accessorized kind of situation, in order to add some actual functional tools and such. Making just a murderer and mother to earn their tail, I see how it is. You know, there can be only one. It's the rule of two, right? Wait, no, that's Sif. Never mind. So yeah, we're going to start off with some pointy ears, and then we'll add goblin ears, because I think VE is also the thing that adds kobold's scales. I might be thinking wrong there, but that is a thing I can do, as a thought. Just... Phew. Okay. So we're going to start with ears, so I'm going to need to go into a massive, massive class at this point. Let's see, how big is this thing now? Out of curiosity. There's just so much going on here. Axolotl, there's the antennae. Piglin. There we go. Oh boy, we've come a ways. We've come a ways. Okay. Public, static, class, ears, elf, I guess. Has it reached almost Crash Eclipse level yet? Thank God, no. Not even remotely. Not even a little bit. Okay, add-on implemented. Let's just grab that real quick, because it's basically what I need here. There. Do we just call them pointy? Maybe? Pointed? I don't know. Go pointy, I guess. Pointy ears. Doesn't have to be an elf. I may never implement elves, who knows? Okay, and now we need a model. Now, I think, in terms of oddities, when people think of a creature with pointed ears, they are probably going to be thinking of the same kind of ears that the witch archfey patron has in their, like, elfy disguise. So, we'll use those as our base. So I'm going to open up the 112 code real quick. Who knows, I may ultimately end up implementing, like, most of what defines that particular patron as, like, various outfit elements and such. But who knows? Probably not anytime soon, and I don't know how you'd even access them outside of creative, but, you know, there we go. First of all, if I did implement the outfit that the witch wears in that particular disguise, it would absolutely be dyeable. So you could absolutely use it in some kind of Western saloon set. Because that's just how it ended up looking. Oh lord, okay. Okay. So it's the ponytail, ears. There we are. That code should function pretty perfectly, I think. Okay, these don't need to be animated, so this can just be all that they are. There. And there is just the one box on them, as near as I can tell. Let's have a look. Oh wait, no, that's just the one. Never mind. Wait, there are in fact two. Which is good, because I think there are on the goblins as well. Okay. Quite where you'll get these outside of creative mode, I don't know. These will probably end up just in like the cosmetics, like loot table. So maybe you'll find elven ears in a dungeon, and that's gonna have implications. I just realized. Okay, that is just the class all set up, so that should be fine. Let's see, ears, pointy. Okay, so that registers the item. So it will be present, but it will not be registered as being something you can wear just yet. Let's see, where are we? Ears, they are. Call it pointed, so we're not necessarily saying these are elf ears. Lots of things have pointed ears, it's fine. Probably some of those things deserve to be in this box. And then we need to go into data, item tags. Elf ears. And put those into there as well. In the code, we're saying they're elves, but in the actual language files and the texture files, we're just saying they're pointy. It's fine. Also, the implication that we're going to be having, like, goblin ears are going to be one of the easier cosmetics to get, because they're, like, occasionally a quest item. I don't know what sick mofo decided that collecting ears off of goblins was, like, good proof for, like, completing a dungeon quest or something, but they're a fairly frequent thing. But since here they'll also be a cosmetic, that just takes on an even more morbid turn. It's like, I'm gonna kill that goblin, cut off its ears, and stick them to the sides of my head. Okay, you do you, guy. I'm just gonna be over here looting the dead paladin or something. Probably, I don't know. Which for some reason is much better. Probably because it doesn't involve desecrating a corpse. Okay, so there's not going to be an item model for it, but there should be a actual, like, worn model for it. Won't be a texture for that, which is fine for us at this exact moment. I think there was another couple of noses I wanted to do, like, sort of a little button nose kind of thing. It was, like, somehow a pointed one. But we haven't got that just right now. Okay, pointed ears. Not too bad, not too bad. I think that works. Be worried if it didn't, because I made this model quite a while ago. Okay, let's get a texture on that. Item model also would help. Did I say pointy or pointed? I can't remember. Pointy. Okay, fixes that part. And now we need to actually add the texture, which we can also largely retrieve just from the witch. Nope, not that, thank you very much. That. Let's see, entity, patron witch, witch elf, there you are. Let's see, models, bauble. There's a fair few here. 33. Lordy. We do also have the third eye texture in here, which hasn't been implemented yet, but that will be a bauble that you can get. So you can have like a lightning eye above your head, much like the Kirin does. How you get that, I'm not even sure. Maybe combine Kirin horns with like a maybe if it's something that you make out of like Ender eyes or eyes of Ender, that'd make a fair bit of sense. Okay, pointy ears, and let's get glimpse open. I probably should make a ponytail cosmetic, honestly. Not 100% certain how I'd render that though. Because the way that it works in like my cinematics and stuff is that it basically functions like a cape. It's not actually rendered as a model, exactly. But... okay, so let's drag that in. And drag this in. Because it's the fastest way I know to open two things at once without having them in the same folder. Okay. So there's the actual texture for this. Let's... Ooh, there's a 4. We copied the code from there, so they're going to have texture offsets. So that should be there. Whereas that wants to be 0.5, as near as I can see. Except it's saying it was 2 before, which is interesting. Not 100% certain how that could be. I want to close this. Let's see. 24.0 was 114, which would indicate that. And that is here. Yes, okay. But the other one is 24 and 2. Which is very odd, but that could just be because it's a flat texture. Flat textures are really odd sometimes. And also in altitude, so we'll just keep that. Okay. And let's grab that color. Convert that to decimal because that's the color system Minecraft uses. Which is not the weirdest and most annoying thing that Minecraft does, so we'll give it a pass. You'd think flat textures would be the simplest. Usually they are. It depends which axis they're flat on. Is that the right thing? I think it is. Good. Okay. And then we desaturate this. That should about do. Good. Right. Good. Okay. Reboot. Not 100% certain how I'll represent this in the item texture, but we're not doing that tonight. One plan later on, like in terms of corpses, by the way, is that if you die and your player drops a corpse, for whatever reason, you are sort of bound to it in a spectral form for a period, before it just lets you respawn if you desire. Sort of meaning that there is, like, somewhat a PvP benefit to needling other players, but also giving an opportunity for players to do stuff to your body, and that's also a weird sentence, come to think of it, but what I mean is to, like, if you want them to, like, reanimate you or such, so you can get so that you can get, like, the zombie template, for instance. That's a thing you can do later. Okay, how do we look? These are definitely a lot brighter than... God, they're also a pain in the neck to actually see. There's definitely a lot brighter on Steve's skin tone than Alex's, but yeah, I think those definitely look like elf ears, and they are dyeable, so we can figure out what the dye combination is and get them 0 ears, that kind of thing. Okay, here's my item frame. Okay, plunk that one there, because there's another kind of ear that we want, which is goblin. Oh goody. Okay. We can go to our current modern Bears oddities there to get that part there. Do I have a screenshot of 1-to-elves? Which, let's find out. Probably. Statistically likely. I know I do. Yeah, I'm sure you do, Dusty. Yeah, So that is the outfit that the witch patron wears. And that does require a custom torso, I think, because the corset does go in tighter. But, like, this coat would be a nice thing to be able to have. Like, maybe I could have a bustle as, like, an item. Not 100%. Maybe the ruffles. I don't know, just, like, something so you can build an outfit, essentially. But that'd be really nice. Just a thought. Okay. Model goblin. Is it in any way different to what we already have here? Looks like it is. Yeah, looks like it's significantly bigger. Okay. I'm in the complete wrong code base to be checking that out. Goblin ears, by their nature, might actually also have to be one of the few cosmetics that has a full-blown, proper scene-in-survival kind of texture to them in their icon. Which will be a change, that's for sure. Ear flare. If I can find that value. Okay. Yeah, just like I imagine a lot of my texturing. Bearing in mind, I am not a good I am not a good pixel artist in the slightest bit. A lot of my texturing does make some pretty nice looking outfits. Because I've had a lot of practice. And I imagine people would love being able to actually use them a bit more, rather than just seeing them on other things. It's like going to a party and feeling very underdressed, I guess would be the phrase. Best way to put it. Okay, let's head for goblins. There is currently a texture bug with the goblins. I'm not 100% certain if that's going to happen here, but I guess we'll find out. Which is that there's a hanging pixel off of the earlobe, which is almost okay, actually, come to think of it. That almost isn't going to be a problem at all. Okay, let's go with the standard green. Oh, and finally someone has told me to do squats. Heck. Well, give me a second. Okay, so anything that was at 21 becomes 0. So that becomes 4. I guess just subtract 21 essentially. That should be 14, and then that should be 18. Yeah. And then this was at 16, so 16's become 0. Why is one of these at 11? That's gotta be the thing there. Okay. 0, -5, which is a thing you can do. It's weird, but you can do it. There. And let's get the default skin tone here. How many squats am I going to do today? We'll see. I've been saving up these channel points for a while. Oh goody. colors, desaturate. There. Right. Need to run the tags. So we are probably going to be seeing this after my break in a hot minute. Thank you for that. Okay. I will do my squats and then I'll take the break and we'll be back to see if goblin ears have taken or have not, one way or the other, I guess. This also means you get to see the outfit for the day. Square fox, is that not what the Minecraft fox already is? Right. 20 squats. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. And with that, I will see you all in about 10 minutes. See you then. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a nice little break there. So, we should have 90% of goblin ears going. It really depends how the texture goes, I think, but we'll see. So we have pointed ears, otherwise known as elf ears, which don't match the skin tone of Steve, but that's fine, they are 100% dyeable. And now we have goblin ears, so let's see how these look. The answer is they don't, because I didn't run the data before we started. Ah, that's why. Okay. Not a problem. Doesn't take very long. As bugs go, that is far from the worst that we've had on this show, so, yeah. There was the time I made petrifying gas, and it flooded the sky, for instance. I don't think it was even textured as well, so it was just like a fluidic missing texture that just took out the sun. Yep, complaining they couldn't find two of the item textures, which is fine. Okay. Good. Yes, that's what we need. Happy to see that. Okay. Let's see what we got. Apparently no difference, because did I, perchance, forget to change... Here's yeah, did I just tell it to make another pointy ears? Yes, I did. Oh, I'm doing well here, aren't I? There. So it's literally just a different item name, basically. Whoopsie. Yeah. May have had to do a little bit of moderation on break there, so my brain might be a little off kilter. But bleh. Okay, how about now? Oh, that's... Well, that's technically progress. Okay, we do have goblin ears. Okay, so it is probably just that we didn't reset the assets. It's got the right color, it's got the right shape, just not the right texture. There we go. And yeah, it does have the texture problem, but that is definitely a different look to the elf ears, for sure. That's much bigger ears. But if I were to... It's just occurred to me, I don't know that halflings are even in this version I'm using here. Yeah, they are. They're small. I'm guessing they shrink. Nope, guessing that's just not working in this version. Which, fine by me. Okay. Yeah, that could be a nice little add-on if you wanted to play a particularly smaller race. Good, good, good. So I do need to tweak the texture to figure out why that's happening. I think that's mostly... This chunk right here is where that is, and I'm fairly certain what's happened is there's just some spots down here that have managed to have some kind of value in them. Which means the tint recognizes them as something it needs to tone. So let's give that a whirl, see if that does the trick for us. Because the alternative is I have to reconstruct it completely. There we go. Okay. That also means I can fix that for the goblins themselves. Hooray! So, okay, that is goblin ears. They are a sight to behold, for sure. And yeah, those are probably going to actually have a full-blown ear texture, which I think we had in 1.12 anyways. Okay. So... this is the current state of various equipment. way over there, further away than I can point, in fact, are the actual meaningful functional elements. This whole thing here is entirely decorative and cosmetic. So tonight, what I'd like to do is add some more functional pieces to the mod, so that it's not just a costume factory, essentially. Nice as that is, nonetheless. So I've drawn up a list of things which shouldn't take us too long to implement, but which will still be handy. So we have caltrops, we have the repeating crossbow, we have the blowgun, shortbow, shuriken, tinder twig, burnt out torch, and the horse-drawn cart. We see someone ask what cosmetics we would like, and we simply lose our minds. Apparently. I should have known my audience, really, but oh well. Anyways, we're going to start off with caltrops, which are basically an item that you can throw, and then when it collides with an entity, it has a decent chance, at the very least, to injure them. Which should allow us to more or less just like chuck something out, and then it will actually just like not stack with itself, so you just put a bunch in one place, and then it will actually serve as like a deterrent to chasing somebody. For instance, we can weaponize throwing something out of your inventory, in short. Now the downside to that is if we do it literally on any time it drops, then it might end up with a situation whereby you die, your caltrops drop, and you can't pick them back up. Or if you're trying to pass them to somebody else, that sort of thing. So it would probably be best as like a right-click thing, decrease the caltrop stack, create a caltrop entity, like roughly in the direction you're looking, that sort of thing. Sort of like a snowball with extremely low velocity. That's probably the better way to go about it, I think. So let's create ourselves entity caltrop. Oh, that is not the entity I want. Oh boy, that one. Correct. Yes, good. Okay, let's look at item entity as the major piece we're interested in here. Do we want to have a thrower? If we added a thrower, then the caltrops could know if they're about to damage the person that put them down. That could be interesting. Might be helpful as well. Do we want caltrops to have a lifespan, or should just be able to, chuck them out willy-nilly? That's the next question, I guess. Can trigger walking? Definitely not. The whole point is that they don't trigger. Registered data. I don't think it needs any, really. It's just a little thing that sits there. Float motion is fine. And let's see. Read and writes are fine for the time being. On collide with player. Overrides on collide with player and entity. Good, okay. Really asking for us to collide with any entity, but for right now, we'll settle for players. We'll make it generic damage. Can I just get generic damage? I don't know. Let's see. Get first entity world dot random next int 2. Make it free. There we go. So it can deal chiefly like half a heart. It'll deal at least half a heart, but it'll otherwise do nothing else. Does item entity have a distinction on whether it happens in the room? There we are. Yeah, it does indeed. There. Okay. So plonk one down, it'll sit there for an age, and then if a player walks into it, it'll despawn, it'll deal some damage. Good. I'm also going to ask if it's on the ground. And I will do the smart, good programmer thing and actually ask the function rather than the actual variable. I know I've gone through this before recently with the corpses. I cannot remember what it is. But if anything descends from something that isn't living entity, it needs to actually have that. Why? I don't know. I found it out recently myself. Okay.
Player has joined the game.
Hey, Holly. How you doing? How big do we want caltrops to be? I think this is about the same size. That's a decent size. Not massive, not huge, just a third of a block. Give or take. Okay, so let's also have a caveat here of make sure the player isn't in creative or spectator, or just, yeah, let's see, entity in dot abilities, disable damage, there, okay. That should all be good. Don't really need those right now, but keep them around just in case. Okay. Let's see what happens. Can we summon caltrops? By the way, I'm not 100% certain how you'll craft these, but they will be craftable. Maybe get like 8 for 4 iron nuggets. Spell of summon caltrops. I mean, there are spells that summon thorns. Okay. Just gonna turn F3 and B so I can see that. Because I don't remember if this is gonna turn up. Oh, apparently I can't summon this. Okay. Yeah, I should be able to summon caltrops, but apparently not. Okay. Why not? Probably because of how we registered them, I guess. Okay. Let's create our caltrop item then. Fairly straightforward. It will mostly be the same as a snowball, essentially. Just create a caltrop instead. slightly prefer to call that properties, just for consistency. Let's see. Max stack size, we'll say is 32. Group, VE item group dot gear. And max damage 0. I should have some programmer socks for whenever I'm streaming programming in a skirt, no less. That seems kind of appropriate. Okay, so that's just the 2 nothing equivalent. Let's add that in here. Oh yeah, I haven't shown off bone needles yet. Fun fact, by complete and total accident, bone needles in various equipment are crafted the exact same way that they are in Witchery back in 1.7. Because it's just a bone and flint, and that gets you 8 of them. Unintended there. But, well, makes sense. It's a good recipe? Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It was just total accident. Okay, let's play the hook sound, this little whoop. Right there. And then, if we are remote, we spawn the entity. Actually, we can do this better, I'm pretty sure. We are going to need to know positions. Come to think of it. Let's check Snowball real quick. How little do I need to put in this to make it make sense? Okay, on entity hit, do nothing. On impact, also do nothing, just wait. Overriding that so that they don't actually remove themselves, like here, like this line right here that says this don't remove. I just want you to fall to the ground and then wait. Okay. So let's see, when you call Snowball, is that passing to anything else? Thrower and Willed in. Okay, right. Makes a degree of sense then. Do I still need the packet? Probably. Oh, right, yes, you need that. Or else you can't actually instantiate there. Okay. Okay. That's the shoot function right there. Okay. And world in, add entity. There. Right. That should mean we can actually grab ourselves some caltrops and just start dropping them. Should being the operative word. But let's see how this goes. Gonna have to fine tune them a little bit. Unlike arrows, we don't want them sticking to walls. We want them to hit things and then fall to the ground. Okay, so that would suggest the packet's not going through properly, because we should be seeing at least a bounding box. Oh, goody. Or maybe it's just because it can't render the item? I don't know. Let's just grab that. Okay. So it'll look like a costume right now, but I promise you it's meant to be a caltrop. Hopefully, now that it knows actually how to render what a caltrop looks like, it should show up. Apparently nuts. Interesting. Okay, that just means we don't have infinite ones. I guess we have to register a renderer for it then. But it should just render it as an item, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on with it. The same thing happens with the holy water, currently. Little bit of a pain, that. But okay, I have assumedly laid down a field of death. Because I've just left a whole ton of... They are presumably there, they're just not visible. So one thing I'm just going to quickly do is remove that. And then I'm going to go into survival mode and wander around and see if I get hurt which is what the caltrops should do whenever I collide with them. This actually might kill me, come to think of it. Maybe I should put some armor on. It is just generic damage, so if you're wearing regular Minecraft armor, you should be largely impervious to it, but it's enough to, like, annoy, I guess. Test subject Diable in the name of dead word. Yep, pretty much. Well, I don't seem to be dying. So that's good. Yeah, it's not actually registering as something I can summon, so that's not something I can actually target either. So maybe I need that, maybe I don't. Not sure. Really couldn't tell. Okay, I'll try without that function in there once, and then we'll see if that helps it at all. I have a feeling what's happening is it's part of the code of projectile item entity. It's hitting the side, and it's hitting a surface and dying automatically. But I don't know if that's a thing. Should probably just be throwable, but let's see, is there a set dead or something in here? Not that I can see. Oh, and it does also already create its own packet, so that's something. So I should need to include it. Nothing about rendering range, as near as I can tell. Can't arrows stick around and hurt you falling if the block they're lodged in is broken? Yes, because at that point they actually count as an entity still. Okay. Plump. Not a thing. Yep. Okay, that suggests it's not surviving then? I can only presume it's part of how I've got it in here, but I'm not 100% certain, because it's got the same problem that holy water does. And this being forged, the only way I'll find out is to actually ask the forge devs, and there are lots to deal with. Suffice it to say. Okay, is there anything in here? Anything from on impact, remove. Interesting, it hits you and it doesn't actually die. Well, it is on impact, I guess. Status updates, just particles, yeah. This should be only marginally more complicated than the Snowball entity, as near as I can tell. But evidently there's a problem with how I'm actually adding this. Which, bit of a pain, but that's fine. That's why I made that's why I made a substantial list of things that we can do tonight. So we'll leave caltrops for the time being. And caltrop entities. There we go. Leave that alone for the time being. And next on our stop is repeating crossbow. So Minecraft crossbows are pretty much just crossbows. They function very much like that. They're just bows that you draw and then you can just like right click and poop, off it goes. The repeating crossbow gives you the advantage of not having to take the time to reload in between. The downside being you can only give it normal ammunition and it'll take a while to reload once it's through its clip. Essentially, you get 5 arrows, it'll function just fine. So it's handy if you don't want to spend the time reloading, which is kind of the main detriment of a crossbow. But once it's done, like once it's emptied, you need to actually stop and basically craft it back together. So that should be a fun little thing for us here. I'm guessing there is a crossbow item here. Yeah, there you are. Okay. What are we gonna go? Ammo, predicates, arrows, or fireworks? In our case, we really just want it to be arrows. Shootable, manageable, loading start, loading middle. Okay. Player stopped using, has ammo. There's definitely a lot of stuff going on in here, right there. Yeah, I think we can actually get through most of this just by more or less taking what the bows do. Weird place to put that. Yeah. I've seen hovering arrows. Yeah, if you unload the world especially, like if the chunk goes away whilst they're flying, they can just stop dead. It's very weird. They don't do it as often as they used to, but it does happen. Say the max damage is 6, I think. Where do you get that from, I wonder? Probably shootable item, at a guess. Now what the heck is funk underscore 23305 underscore D underscore? What does it do here? Just returns the number 8. Can fire at target, brain utils. Is it the cooldown? Is that it? Yeah, this looks like it's part of the AI code. Next question, what is that in the bow? Because I presume that's the same thing. Yep, okay. 15. I'm gonna make that 6. I'm presuming that is the time interval between, like, mobs shooting these at you. Okay. Put the caltrops aside for a moment. Right. That should be all that we need just to have something that can shoot arrows. Won't have lang, won't have a model, won't have a texture right now, but it will very much resemble what we're looking for here. Just checking, is there anything in here? Presumably is charged, is a relevant thing here. If it's charged, fire projectiles, set charged false, not gonna be a problem for us. Use duration greater than 1 and is not charged, set charged, okay. Pretty much all of that looks straightforward. forwards. Okay. So it's not technically a crossbow because it's not extending out of the same code as the crossbow. But we're going to be treating it as a crossbow. It's going to have most of the same properties. Okay, repeating crossbow. There you are. And another thing happens, which is fine, because there's barely any code in this thing right now anyways. Okay. On right click. Just borrow that code. So, the old code checks if it has actual ammunition loaded into it. Our code needs to check if its damage value is greater than 0. Or if its remaining, like, health, essentially. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3. Let's grab that real quick to format this probably. There. So if item stack dot damage is equal to its max damage, I think that's the point where it breaks entirely, but who knows. I do not know. I don't remember what the inputs are for that. Okay, fire projectiles is the main thing. In our case, it's just going to be shooting arrows because using this thing with rockets would be really, really, really weird. Okay, so random sandwiches charged projectile list. In our case, that'll just be an arrow. List.size. Okay, so just going for each one of them. Shooting them all, as near as I can tell. What is I equals 0 here? Can they shoot more than what? What am I thinking of here? Is that... I'm guessing that's related to the enchantments. Let's have a look. No, apparently you can just give them a set of more than one projectile. Huh. I didn't know that. Let's have a look, shall we? That is a function of crossbows I was unaware of. Yeah, I can load an arrow or a firework. Load them by using them. Charge projectiles. The items this crossbow has charged, normally 1 entry, free if enchanted with multi-shot. Ah, yeah, I was right there. Interesting. In our case, we're, again, just going to be using arrows, but... Although a repeating crossbow with actual, like, with actual rockets or such, like max blast rockets, oh god. Lordy, that would be horrific. Anyways, where is our fire projectile? There you are. So that's the whole thing right there. It is bulky AF, but should suffice. And once again, for mostly consistency reasons, we're just gonna grab the whole thing. Okay, so that's the get projectile, I presume. Alright, yes, different function. Fire projectiles after, fire projectiles. Fire projectile itself is a whole other thing, okay. That's really convoluted. I definitely do not want you to put multi-shot on this. Does sound like a lot of fun. Yeah, I presume multi-shot just takes the thing you in a fire. But theoretically that means that you could absolutely put more than one thing into it. I guess multi-shot when you load it just puts 3 instances of the same thing-ish. Shoot as a crossbow user, do something, apparently. Again, another unnamed function that makes no sense to me. Otherwise, shoot. We don't want to damage the item, because we do that based on this. We're using the damage of the item as actual, like, magazine size, essentially. Okay, create arrow is... It surprises me create arrow itself isn't actually just there, but why is that not a function in shootable item or something? We will take into account piercing. I imagine if we allowed this thing to use multi-shot enchantments, then, oh lordy, could you imagine? It would basically just be like machine gun spray. We are going to add an actual delay in between using it, but just, whoa, imagine. Let's see, where are you? Right, that function right there, what is that doing? It's the speed, apparently, so 1.6 should about do. Nope, apparently not, okay. It's looking for a float, is it not? What's your problem? Float floats, yes, apparently has... Is there some kind of difference here that I'm not seeing? Hand, item stack... the projectile needs to be here too. I see. Is it used literally anywhere else? Not really. Then there's the pitch. If we're in creative mode. I feel like I might have grabbed the wrong function. Well, I should absolutely got this one, at least. Random sound pitches. We'll just say 1F for right now, at least. Velocity, inaccuracy, and projectile angle. Okay, what are our velocities? Where are we getting that from? Is that the 1.6? Okay, that's the 1.6. Okay. So then there's inaccuracy and angle. Which I'm guessing is 0F in this case, so we're just firing straight forwards. Yay! Good. Lack of problems. Okay, let's see if we can fire arrows now. Just in time for my break. Good. So. And away it goes. 6 arrows. Okay. We don't want to change that, but good start. We made a very low durability crossbow, essentially. Grand and good. Okay, I'll be back in about 10 minutes with some more on this. Catch you then. Welcome back, everybody. So, just before we left off, we have re-implemented the shooty parts, at least, of crossbows inside of our repeating crossbow, and the point of a repeating crossbow... Every time this song plays, every time! God damn it! I say this, I think, every time, but there is a YouTube channel called Bedtime Stories, I think, and the intro of its actual, the intro of its videos has that almost exact opening notation, and it throws me for a loop every time I hear it. Ugh. Anyways, I've just been gifted 20 squats, so guess I'd better do those. Right. The plan next is to implement reloading of your repeating crossbow, such that you can actually use it more than once, which is almost the point. Now, because we are using damage rather than internal NBT data, we don't actually have durability on repeating crossbows. I don't know if that's something that needs to be fixed. Should your repeating crossbow be able to break much like your highly enchanted regular crossbow? You tell me. I've got scores to do, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There we go. So yeah, for now we're going to keep it as being the durability bar tells you how much it tells you how much ammunition it has. We might change that in a little bit so that it's something maybe in the model or such. Whew. Like maybe we have an arrow model and we overlay that and we just stack it. That sort of thing. But yeah, for right now this'll do. Okay. Let's see where... That do. Just make a quick item model for this. And we're going to use, for the moment, the item texture for a crossbow with an arrow. Yeah, crossbow.arrow. Have I got that director correct? Oh, keeping me in shape, apparently. Am I allowed to say I look damn good today? I'm not even made up or anything. I feel like I look really nice today. Okay. Alright, good. So, dink, 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 and then nothing. Okay, good. Durability 1 of 6, which is fine. Let me just actually add in the lang for that real quick. So now we have a crossbow that has nothing inside of it. No loaded ammunition of any kind. So the next thing we'll need to do is actually be able to craft this together with arrows in order to reload it. So for that, we need a recipe. A dynamic recipe at that. Let's see. Recipes, there we are. I also probably want to change the screen recipe eventually. Let's see. That one also. So repeating crossbow recipe. Okay, mostly okay. So let's see, we want an item stack, which is the crossbow. And we want an item stack, which is an arrow. And we can expand this later on to multiple arrows at once. But for right now, just... what are we doing one at a time? Start with a small thing. Okay. Return. Not arrow is empty, and not crossbow is empty, and crossbow is damaged. Meaning it isn't at full, it isn't at its full durability. Okay, straightforward. Now more or less repeat these. So if all of that's then item stack output equals crossbow copy output dot set damage crossbow get damage -1, and then return output. That should all be fine. Let's see, VE items, we need to register the recipe here, so repeating crossbow recipe. There, okay. And register it as well. Okay, run data, and that should now mean that we can combine our non-functional repeating crossbow with arrows to give it an extra shot. Which makes it more fiddly to reload than a regular crossbow, and more fiddly than a bow, but you can have up to 5 shots with it before you need to redo it. I think most people will find some kind of situational benefit out of. We could think of different mechanics for reloading if we desired, but it's not a huge problem. I kind of like crafting as a, like, small scale crafting to be like a simulation of you're taking a moment to do this relatively complex thing. Okay. There we are. Good. Grand and good. So our next stop with that particular recipe, at the very least, we're going to adjust it to take any number of arrows as long as they're like all present. Okay. And then more or less, again, repeat the same thing over here. Okay. That should mean we can have any number of arrows. Should being the operative word, assuming I've gotten this correct. If there's 6 or more, we know we're already like beyond how many there would be. So in our inventory, we should just be able to shove 3 arrows in. Okay, so there's 1. Very good. 4 out of 6, good. And fully reloaded. And if I... Yep, good. Okay. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Now, that renders differently, but that's fine. And it definitely renders differently there, so we probably want to change that up. I presume that is to do with the actual model rather than the actual like item itself. So let's have a look at the models. So there's crossbow arrow. Yep. And there's crossbow standby. So crossbow arrow, pretty straightforwards. Extends item crossbow. Okay. And then I'm guessing, therefore, that there is a thing inside of crossbow item that changes what its model is. it's not there. Get use action is just use action dot crossbow. So if it's a crossbow, I guess that I think is a little weird, but interesting. Okay. There has to be a thing in here that changes what its model is based on its projectile, so let's just have a mosey. But I don't actually see what it is. So that extends this, which is itself item generated. Okay. Overrides. That's probably it. Yeah, crossbow, arrow, charged 1. Firework 1. There we go. Okay. Because we want its model to change when we can't shoot it, essentially. Okay, we don't need to care about pulling. We just need to know what the damage is, and from there we can just determine what we're actually going to be using here. Okay, let's just, like, if our damage is 5, essentially, then we can switch to, if our damage is 5 to 1, then, or 0 to, God, my brain's gone wonky, then we want the arrow, the crossbow one. So let's see what the wiki has to say for what the model values are. Okay. Damage. There we are. Decimal value between 0 and 1. Can I give this a scale? Probably not. So we'll say that. Probably makes more sense to have this start with crossbow, arrow, and then when it hits that, then we have it just crossbow standby. Okay. Just make its crossbow. Or repeating crossbow. Empty, I guess. Okay. Hopefully that works. We'll see. Worst case scenario, it breaks because I haven't given it the right target, essentially. Okay, regular crossbow. Repeating crossbow has sort of the right model. But not the right damage, near as I can tell. So there is a problem here, which is presumably this value is too high. Or maybe it's just not picking it up properly. I don't know which. But we can check that just by reloading the resource pack. Or the data pack, to be exact. Okay. Is there... Minecraft textures item crossbow apparently does not exist. Interesting. Let's see, is there any reference here to something going wrong? Not that I can see. Just apparently crossbow doesn't exist. Except we're not using that. Let's do a little bit of silly here. So let's see, let's have apple, golden apple, and fishing rod maybe, I don't know, and a pearl. There. If any of those work, we know we're on something of the right track. They do not appear to. Okay, so next question. Why not? So I could have sworn we weren't asking for crossbow. No. Okay, yep, it's fine. So, what's the problem here? The only thing that comes to mind is there'll be something down here that is telling it what properties it has, or is allowed. Which case, we have a hood that will do that as well. Hat hood. Armor texture, right click, is up, set up. Register properties, there we are. And for this we want a repeating crossbow. Hey Zo, how you doing? Right, hopefully that means it actually understands what's going on. Hopefully. In which case, our repeating crossbow should shapeshift through a variety of delicious food items. As action, we are currently trying to make a crossbow that you only have to reload once every 5 shots, at most. So essentially 5 fully drawn bow shots in a row. Which is pretty nice. And seems like it's still not quite doing the trick. Interesting. Okay, well we've already got this function, an automatic crossbow with a clip size of 5. Basically, yes. We've already got this function inside of the hood, so let's just check that. And yeah, that looks otherwise fine. Just put it in here for 0. There. Plays an obscene amount of Pathfinder. Totally fair. This is a Dungeons and Dragons inspired mod, so... Like, earlier, before we started on this, we were actually trying to make caltrops as well. It's just an item you can chuck around and they'll, like, deal damage on contact. Not for very much, but, you know. Enough to dissuade people, at the very least. Hey, Silver. Why is everyone showing up at the end of the stream? What's going on? Weird coinky dink. Also had a slow effect if it deals damage. In the case of caltrops, maybe. Also, it's an apple. This works now. Okay, and golden apple, ender pearl, empty gun, ish. Okay. Good, good, good. Oh, wait, that's the wrong crossbow. Grand, we got it. Now we need to give it the right amount of damage here. There. Okay, repeating crossbow, give it some stuffs. Yeah! So now I should be able to just keep shooting until it empties. Perfect. Caltrops reduce speed if you take damage from them. They do. We could give them a very short slowness, like, debuff to them. It's an idea. Okay. I want this to show a damage bar until it is empty. Let's see if we can't figure that out. Max damage is presumably going to be related to this. Is damageable? I think that's the part that controls whether or not it's whether or not it shows the bar, but let's have a look. Currently, this only takes arrows, but we could change it to, like, accept fireworks. We mostly just don't want to put multi-shot on this, because multi-shot with a repeating crossbow is going to be absurd. Harvest level is crossbow. Well, that's something I need to actually have in my code then. Little absurd that that's a function at all, but yeah. Returns true if this item's stack is if this item stack's item is a crossbow. Okay, I'm not seeing anything in here that will control that. Okay, that's fine. Well, my plans for this mod, you're going into making mods yourself, you want to make a D&D inspired mod, I don't want to step on my toes. Okay, this is an extension mod to various oddities, which adds a bunch of basic Dungeons & Dragons, or just RPG essentially, mechanics, and then moves on by adding a whole ton of monsters and creatures and such to make the world feel much more alive. This mod, various equipment, is chiefly focused around items, gear, that kind of thing, to diversify your gameplay and how you actually approach that RPG world. It also includes a heck ton of different cosmetics, so that you can dress up and play whatever part you like, essentially. There are other mods in the various family coming. There's various worlds, which adds different dimensions. There's various magics, which add spells and such. Right now, we just have various oddities and various equipment, because various equipment is very young. And various oddities is still in its kind of like 1.16 teething phase. But okay, anyways, does that mean it's going to center, then? Now that we've said is crossbow true, does that mean it'll center? Let's find out. No fireworks makes sense to me. I mean, rapid firing fireworks could get really, really dangerous. Really hecked up. Like, kind of absurd. But also, you then have to take a moment in a nice quiet space crafting more into them. So, like, as long as they, like, if you know you'll kill them, then fine. Okay, so sending it to is crossbow did not make it center. Which is fine. Kind of feels like a hand crossbow to me that way. I like that we got the icon to change. That's good. Yeah, like just the amount of time that you have to spend completely defenseless because you're in an inventory reloading this thing. Oh, I like it. What we can do is, instead of just having it be arrow or no arrow, we can actually have the model change so that there's multiple arrows down to the amount that's like left, essentially. A repeating crossbow with fireworks is simply a fireball, I guess. What's the phrase? If you're gonna come at the king, best not miss. Like, better kill me in one hit. Kill me in one clip, in this case, I guess. Okay. So, let me see. Let's go into our items. Let's just grab that one, I guess. So, crossbow, arrow. Better kill me in one hit, better make it hurt. Better make sure you time it so that you don't get hit with the iframes of Minecraft. Although I can't recall if they removed those recently. Where are you? Item. Crossbow, arrow. There you are. Okay. Just going to take this, extricate the arrow from it. And then make a really, really quick item model that stacks these on. Okay, so for that I need to be inside of there, I think. Or is that no? I cannot remember how this is gonna go, but guess I'll find out. Like, I don't remember how generated works. I think generated is a bit special. Oh, that's a channel points? Oh dear. It might actually take me a bit longer than I would prefer to be able to make that model. But suffice to say, having a model that has like a number of arrows, and then that goes chunk, 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 chunk as you shoot, might be a lot better than just like swapping the model, I guess, or swapping the texture eventually out of the damage file. Anyways, final squats, I guess, of the evening. Keeping me in shape, but right. Oh, I didn't know it's been imported quaternion code. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There we go. Right, I have another question now, which is, how do I put enchantments on this thing? Can I put enchantments on this thing currently? Like, what does is crossbow actually connect to? Does that actually connect to enchantments, or... Nope, it just goes to the active hand for some reason.
Alright. I'll tell you the truth.
Okay, let's check that. Like, where does it define this? Equipment slot type main hand. Okay. Enchantment type dot crossbow. Instance of crossbow item.
Remember all the happy times we had?
Okay, where's that get called? Apparently nowhere. Little weird.
Very much
Okay.
Remember all the happy times we had?
Can apply an enchanting table. Okay. Should be fine, I think.
Alright. I'll tell you the truth.
Yep, that's good. Okay. So, ench does not equal enchantments dot multi-shots, and let's see, items dot crossbow dot can apply items.crossbow dots get default instance inch. There. That should mean that anything that goes onto a crossbow, with the exception of multi-shot, can go onto our new repeating crossbow. Let's find out. I evidently did not clear out my channel point redemptions before I went on my week off. Oh dear, there's one from 12 days ago. Well, I've still done them, they're just not ticked off. Okay, final test, can we get this to work? Next question, of course, is how do we craft a repeating crossbow? Because the recipe for a crossbow is already pretty dense. Okay, bookshelf. Let's plonk this over here. Crossbow plus something else. I think that had to be how it goes, yeah. Quick, happy little enchanting setup. Okay, so we got piercing, we got unbreaking, good, good, good. Let's go a little higher. Crossbow plus piston, good option. A crossbow plus a piston plus a bucket. So it's just like, the implication is it's just like feeding them in. Okay, piercing free. And quick charge. Good. Okay. Quick charge is completely worthless on this, but okay. That's maybe something we should also filter out. Let's see, not. What's that? Or. Okay, not quick charge, not multi-shot. Because quick charge is only relevant if you're not already using a repeating crossbow, essentially. Okay, there is one last thing I want to do, which is when we fire, I want to actually set it on cooldown, essentially. So let's see, crossbow item. So let's see. Should be on a cooldown. Nope. What item has a cooldown? Ender pearls have a cooldown. Nope, that's the entity. But I don't. Ah, get cooldown tracker. There we go. Interesting. I guess we need shooters, don't we? Right. There. Essentially limiting the actual rate of fire. To still be substantially less than, like, having to reload a crossbow, but not to the point where you can spam completely. So 20 ticks should be 1 second. I guess we could allow quick charge then to, like, reduce that cooldown a bit. What's the max level of quick charge? Max level is free. And this has quick charge 1. A second does feel a bit long. So let's do some math here. Let's do some calculation, shall we? So if I is greater than 0, blah, 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 else we do our default 20. Actually, let's just have int cool equals 20, or reference ticks values. There we go, second. Then cool minus equals I times 5. There. Alright, let's maybe make that 3. So it can almost halve the amount of, like, the time between shots if you get quick charge. Which I guess means I can take that part out. There, now quick charge is relevant on a repeating crossbow. Multi-shot still not, but quick charge, yes. And that'll be the end for our evening. Also, by virtue of the way that we've done this, the repeating crossbow comes fully loaded. I should probably change that. That's technically like 5 free arrows. Lord, imagine. Yeah, just fully loaded right there. Okay, so firing rate of a repeating crossbow. By default, firing rate with quick charge 1. Okay. Firing rate with quick charge 3. Oh yeah, you can definitely feel that. You can definitely feel that. Oof. Okay. That is the repeating crossbow. I think that's pretty much good to go. We do want to set the default instance. So 1 second, let me beat that up. Is that not in here? I could have sworn that was in here somewhere. Apparently not. Could have sworn that was something you could do. not seeing it. Nope. Okay, yep, that'll just have to be a thing that I figure out later. I'm probably gonna change this to be MBT data, so that repeating crossbows actually have meaningful damage, as in actual durability. And then I might be able to get multi-shot working. Might. I'm gonna stress the might. I don't think many people actually use multi-shot, but you know, just in case. Yeah, I think people are going to enjoy this. Something tells me people are going to enjoy this. That seems... yeah. That's... oh god, the knockback alone on that's going to be really messy for mobs. Let them deal, I guess. Anyways, that's all I've got time for tonight, so... let's see, next time we can work on the blowgun, we can add the short bow, we can add some shuriken, assuming I figured out entities for caltrops and such. We can try the tinder twig, which is basically a single-use match. So think of it as like a craftable fire charge, basically. There's the burnt out torch, which is something from way back in the days of Nature Reclaims, if anyone here remembers that period. And if we get through all of this, we're gonna try and add a cart. I don't know how well that'll go, but we're gonna try it. Anyways, that's all I got for now. My next stream should be on Thursday, World of Madness, and we'll probably be playing some Sea of Thieves if I had to guess. Then on Saturday with the patrons, we have the Carousel, playing some random games and shooting the breeze. That breeze knows what it done did at the tavern last night, so it's gonna get it real hard in the back there. And I'll be back for more of this on Tuesday. Meanwhile, any videos I make are over at youtube.com/comic. I have a video coming up fairly soon. It's a very short one, but it's helpful nonetheless, that explains how abilities are used in various oddities. And everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying. Hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time. I was hoping for the villager nose there. Oh well.